Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Greg Anderson, former Army Ranger. I did about 10 years of military, paramilitary stuff, and then went right into law enforcement and did another almost a decade as a police officer and a deputy. Uh, I moved past that profession based on my viral video that kind of changed my life this last year, and now I've moved into the podcasting world. I opened a jiu-jitsu academy and just taking my life in a new direction. So I'm on Ever Forward Radio today with Chase, and we're just talking about how to be motivated, some leadership principles, and kind of how to take your life to that next level. Because 2020, as bad as a year as it's been for a lot of us, I think there's a lot of gems to be discovered in it too. And I've used this as a good opportunity to grow and do a lot of things in my life that I don't think I would have been able to do had it played out differently. So check out the show. We just wrapped it up. It's a good episode, and I appreciate everyone's support.
3, 2, 1.
Dude, cheers, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me out, man.
Welcome
This is
back
cool.
to LA.
Yeah, it's my old stomping grounds.
How long has it been since you've been in Los Angeles?
I moved out of LA in January December of 2014.
Okay,
So
a few years.
yeah, it's been a while.
You're still Mr. Hollywood over there with your sunglasses. Can't take the LA out.
No. It's actually because I have the most sensitive eyes on planet Earth.
I feel you, man.
I'd be squinting here. I'm from Seattle, dude.
I feel you get
And
the blue
so-
eyes too. It's
Yeah.
super light sensitive. Yeah.
I don't. I'm not exposed to that big glowing thing in the sky very often. So.
Note to self: I need to get some curtains for Greg's return to the show. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's nice being back down here. I always loved California. I was really happy that the agency that I worked for stationed me in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But I always knew, I grew up in Seattle. My family's in Seattle. So I wanted to work my way back up north.
Yeah.
And I eventually did. But, and I also didn't want to raise my children down here.
I can see
you know
that.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is, I was working for a federal agency and I was only making like $70,000 a year or something.
Here in LA with a family, that's rough.
like, well, when we first got here,
Yeah.
I was making $49,000 a year. The GS5 in the Department of Justice with the U.S.
Single?
Marshal
You were
Service.
married? You had kids at the
Married
time?
with kids.
No shit.
And it's like, I always tell people, dude, Los Angeles is either like Malibu Hills or Hood.
Yeah.
Los Angeles is not a good place to live for middle-class America. It's a tough place to live for middle-class America.
It's a grind, man.
And so
it eats its young.
my office was actually, do you know where the Roy Ball Federal Building is?
No.
It's right by
I've been here 2.5 years. I
okay.
barely know anything.
Yeah. It's right by the Union Station, the train station.
Oh,
downtown.
okay.
And that's where my office was.
Okay.
And I lived in Lake Elsinore. Do you even know where
Dude.
that's at?
Wow. So you're like in the thick of it.
75 miles each way to work.
Holy shit, man.
But the cool thing about it is once you go far enough inland, we got a nice like 2,000 square foot house in a nice neighborhood with a cul-de-sac, like good spot for the kids.
Yeah.
So in order to find a place that was suitable for the family, I just knew I'm driving 150 miles a day.
Damn,
There's
man.
no way around that, And
Sacrifice. Shit,
Yeah.
man.
But I also knew that I looked at it like an enlistment. Like I knew this was supposed to be a 3-year assignment,
Yeah.
and then it turned into about a 4-year assignment. But I knew that there was light at the end of the tunnel. So in order to make this work while we're here, I'm going to sacrifice some sleep, and I'm going to be listening to a lot of audiobooks and death metal in my Mustang.
But you're not on any contract now, man. We were just saying earlier,
Oh,
you're
bro.
coming up on your almost 1 year,
1 year
fun
freedom.
employment.
Yep.
Dude, what is this year? I mean, what a year to transition out of law enforcement, to come from a military background, to transition out of that lifestyle and that profession into the year that 2020 was. Like, what has been your take on this last year? You've had so much going
Yeah,
on.
it's so crazy because I'm just a dude. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the same stuff frustrates me that frustrates everybody else. And so with the division and all the COVID stuff and all the politics, like that was really, I mean, it ate away at me quite a bit. And then I ended up getting terminated from my job, and it was just like,
Can you speak to that real quick? Like, why did you get terminated for what you said?
okay, so for people that
And what
aren't,
did you say?
yeah, so for people that aren't familiar with it, like the whole reason I'm even sitting here right now is on May 5th of last year, I was a police officer in Seattle, and I made a video speaking to other police officers
Hmm.
because I felt like other officers needed to hear this from one of their own,
Yeah.
from one of their peers in uniform.
Nobody else was speaking up about this at the
No,
time.
but nobody else was speaking up about it publicly. But I'll tell you what, dude, in the lunchroom, I'd be sitting there with 20 cops, and every single one of them was just disgusted
I believe it.
of what we were seeing nationwide. Especially, I mean, California, you guys are leading the charge on going out and arresting people for surfing
Yeah.
and for going to the park with their kids. And so I made a video, and I didn't speak to COVID directly because, like I always say, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an
Yeah.
epidemiologist. Like, that's not my expertise. But as a police officer that understands enforcing laws and respecting people's civil liberties and constitutional rights, I was like, guys, what we're seeing out there is a lot of violations of people's constitutional rights. And our oath, we're sworn to uphold those rights. And we don't have the legal authority to arrest somebody simply because a mayor or a governor thinks it's a good idea. Laws have to be legislated.
And that's true.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
that's
a process.
wow.
And so now, just like everything, it can be litigated at the highest levels. I
Of
mean,
course, yeah.
we have people in the Supreme Court that disagree with each other, right? So I understand that. And I had a lot of people that disagreed with me. They're like, well, there's state of emergency and there's the 10th Amendment. But how I read into those things is, yes, you can invoke state of emergency, but what you can't do is violate people's constitutional rights. There's case law. I think it's Supreme Court. It was it was in like 1809, Marbury versus Madison, I believe. And it's like,
Can we get a fact check?
yeah. any mandate, any order coming from like a mayor or a governor, if it is repugnant, meaning if it is in conflict with the Constitution, it's null and void.
Really?
Yeah, and so
Wow.
it's like,
Never heard of this on the news. Never heard this on
Yeah.
social media.
And then the other thing is, at least in Washington State, the governor does have the power to implement certain restrictions if he invokes state of emergency,
Okay.
right? Which he
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
But that can only be valid, and you can read the state law, 30 days. If he wants any of his orders to
It has-
last longer than 30 days,
It has to be renewed.
it has to go through the legislature.
Oh, wow.
And it has to become law.
Wow.
And so as a police officer, if you write someone a citation, if you arrest somebody, if you charge them with a felony or a misdemeanor, there's literally a block that you have to fill out which RCW, which is the Washington State Code of their laws, right, has been violated. And so I went to my chief and I went to my sergeant. I'm like, there are no laws
Yeah,
on
how
the
do I
books
fill
for
this out?
stuff. Like if it gets to the point where you guys ask me to tell someone to leave a park or take some kind of enforcement on a mask, there's no laws on the books here, right? And it starts to get dicey because now not only do I feel like it's a morally and ethically incorrect thing to do, but I'm kind of putting myself out there because now I'm the guy that's enforcing things
Yeah.
that I am interpreting as unenforceable. And so my
and
sergeant,
so you were just sharing this.
yeah, and my
on
sergeant
experience.
and my chief were both like, Greg, we agree with you.
Damn.
We agree with you. This is too convoluted to enforce, and we will not be asking you to do that. I was like, cool, right? And I don't know if you remember in the video, I even said, like, luckily I'm part of a department that stands behind my beliefs, and I didn't throw them under the bus, you know? But my biggest concern was the public's relationship with law enforcement. There's always an ebb and flow to it, right?
100%. Yeah.
And kind of depending on what's taking place around the country or the flavor in the media or the election cycle, sometimes there's a big wedge driven between the public's trust and law enforcement. And I feel like for the first time in a long time, cops weren't looked at like pieces of shit anymore. Like a lot of people were kind of respecting the profession again. And that was my concern. I'm like, we are going to turn the public against the profession.
Wow. Yeah.
And I even said that. I said, you're going to wake a sleeping giant. Like, you're going to make the American people they stand up and say, we've had enough of this shit. And we don't need to drive a wedge between the public
Yeah.
and police officers. Like, we're supposed to be serving the public as police officers. And, dude, I released that video and I got put on administrative leave the next day.
I was gonna say, how soon?
The next day.
Good Lord.
Well, the head commander got a hold of me.
Because that video went viral. Like,
Yeah,
what,
it went-
over 1 million views.
Oh, bro, I bet it's.
I haven't checked it in a while.
I bet it's 100 million.
Yeah, let me check that shit.
Well,
right
no,
now.
it's 1 million on my Instagram alone.
Where else is it?
Dude, it's
live?
everywhere. A guy named Steve Sanchez, who has a radio show out of Vegas, he put it on his thing. He got 15 million
No shit.
alone.
So this one piece of content is probably in the tens of millions.
Easy. And it's on YouTube and Twitter, and I didn't even put it up there, you know?
Oh my God, I gotta. You've been posting a lot this last year. I'm scrolling through, but
Yeah.
but I mean, like, I'll make sure to link that for everybody. But but still, I remember a couple weeks into kind of hearing about it, it was already 990 some thousand. I think that was
Yeah.
like week 2.
I don't think it's got much more traction on my Instagram. I think it's around 1 million.
998,996 views.
Okay. But
All
it
right,
was
guys, we got to break 1 million for this guy. Okay, break 1 million for this guy.
on YouTube and Twitter is where it went nuts.
Okay.
And Facebook. And so like people ripped it and it was everywhere.
Were you getting support for it? Were you getting hate for it? What was kind of like the majority
I would say
feedback?
95% of people were supporting.
Okay.
Tons of police officers too. And I even had sergeants and commanders write me that were
Wow.
like, my patrol officers needed to hear this.
Wow.
We played it in roll call this morning.
No shit.
Yeah. I had one guy that said, everybody at NYPD has been asked to watch this video.
Wow.
And it's crazy how 8 minutes of my life changed the entire trajectory of, everything.
Has defined your life this
has
past
defined
year
my
almost.
life.
Yeah.
And it's just bizarre. And it's funny because I've had a lot of people say like, you planned this, this was calculated, and
This was your exit strategy.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
get the fuck out of here. I said, first of all, if I could, and I didn't even sit down and like think about or map out the video. I just held my phone up and kind of went
Oh, it's
on-
obvious, man.
I just went on a
Yeah.
tangent.
No offense, but you had no idea what you're doing. You were just
Yeah,
like, I mean,
Bro, it made it authentic.
you were just like from the heart,
and
just
that's
pouring
what
it out.
that's what people
Yeah.
appreciated about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I told people if I could mastermind that, then and it elevated me and pushed my life in a good direction, then good on me. You know what I'm saying? But
You're
I
here.
didn't, dude. But like, to answer your question originally, like, what's this last year been like? With all the negative stuff that's kind of been on the forefront of everybody's mind, I gotta say it's been the best year of my life.
Amazing.
Because it really made me step outside of a regular 9 to 5, which, to tell you the truth, like, I respect the profession. I love a lot of police officers that are very close to me, but I never felt comfortable being a cop. It's not who I am in my core.
How many years were you a cop?
I was with the feds for 5, and then I was with a state agency for 3.5.
Okay.
So
That's a solid stint.
yeah, it's pushing a decade.
Yeah.
You know? And the whole time it was always kind of like, it just never felt like me. And I think,
Then why were you doing it?
yeah, well, I was just going to say, the reason I was doing it is because I was in the military and then I was deploying and I did that for 10 years. And then I got out of the military and I was married and had a kid and just started doing life, you know? And someone's like, dude, you should join this agency with me. It was a guy on my jiu-jitsu team. He's like, you should look into this. And I put in for it and I got hired. And then before you know it, you're pushing damn near a decade of your life at something that I didn't hate, but I also wasn't passionate about.
I'm sure it's providing stability for your family.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
It was
you know,
good
security.
pay, good
Yeah.
benefits. We had a nice house and my kids were comfortable and like
Coming from the military, I know a lot of guys who did that too. When we got out, it was just, hey, let me go to an agency, let me go to law enforcement.
yeah, it's just it's a natural.
It just seems like what you're kind of like, I guess I should do this.
Yeah, and it's like if you come out and you're into fitness and you're into tactics and it's just kind of a natural progression, you know?
Yeah.
But it was never me, you know? It was never me. And so this forced me to step outside of that and kind of focus on some things that I'm passionate about. And like I had the Jiu-Jitsu Academy. I've had that Jiu-Jitsu Academy for 5 years.
Yeah.
But it was always a side thing.
Okay.
It was my side piece. And so, like,
An acceptable side piece.
yeah, a side piece that was approved. Um, I I never grew that academy or put the effort into it that it needed to be nurtured and grow. And just this last year, like we were talking before we started recording, the Jiu-Jitsu Academy has probably quadrupled
That's amazing,
in
man.
students
Yeah.
in the last 6 months, or even the last 3 months, I'd say, you know?
Do you think it's because people are wanting to come train where you are, or it's because this kind of what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has to offer is like something that people are really gravitating more
I think
towards?
it's a trifecta, man. I think if you look at a lot of, I mean, I don't know what you would call them, influencers or motivators, but you got like your Jockos,
Yeah,
Rogans,
yeah.
Andy Stump, all of these guys that have big platforms talk about how much jujitsu benefits their life.
Yeah, well, all of them. Sure.
Yeah, all of them. And so I get that. I get people call me like, hey, I listened to Rogan or I listened to Andy Stump. Or now I'm actually getting people say, hey, I listened to you
Yeah.
and I want to try jujitsu. And so you have a lot of like, jujitsu's in the public eye now, you know?
Yeah, in a big way.
Yeah. And so there's that aspect of it. One of the other aspects is that I opened my gym up for training
That's right. That's right.
when we were supposed to be closed.
You're going against
I'm going
another
against the
current.
grain.
Yeah.
And so that's what I told people. I was very upfront about it. And I said, I'm not. The weird thing about the whole COVID thing is that if I want to run my business, the narrative is that I hope your grandmother dies. And it's like, dude, I love people. I'm a people person. I like community. I like talking to people. I like I like sitting down doing stuff like this. But at the end of the day, I think it's unreasonable to expect everybody to just lose everything that they've created. You know what I mean? It'd be like you with your podcast company. Hey, you can't do anything related to your business for the next year. How would that affect you? How would that affect anybody?
In like every way possible.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And so I was like, listen, if my gym's to survive, we have to open up. And if you're going to come after me and try and close me down, then, and I made a video about it, and I wasn't trying to stir the pot, maybe a little bit, because I like instigating sometimes. But I was like, this isn't bullshit. This isn't a threat. Like, I'll fight to the death to defend this place. And it's just 40 by 20 feet of mats. But at the end of the day, it's mine. I built it. I created it. And I put a high level of importance on it. And I'm not allowing the government to take it from me. And, dude, we start getting people signing up every single day.
Yeah.
And because everything else was closed, because we're jiu-jitsu and we're CrossFit, right?
Okay.
So we offer those two things. And what we found is you got people that go to Globo gyms or Pilates or yoga, like whatever their thing is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's all closed down right now. So we had a lot of people who are like, hey, we're going to try CrossFit. We're going to try jiu-jitsu.
Migrating to what they can do.
Migrating to what's
yeah.
available. And then after a month or two in the scene with the vibe, people love it. And that's the biggest thing with my academy. Like I always tell people, we don't do contracts. I don't want anyone locked in. If you want to leave, please leave. And it's not because
The same door you can walk through to come in, you can walk out.
And that's not being like disrespectful to them or saying like, fuck you, get out of here. It's like literally,
It's all freedom
I only want people to train up here
that want to be
that
here.
want to be here.
Yeah.
Because if you sign up and you're locked in for 6 months and then for whatever reason you're not enjoying it, well, fuck though, I'm paying for it. I'm going to go train. No, dude, that's the opposite of what I want. And so what we found is we've created a vibe up there that is, it's a lot of tough, hard training. It's good athletes. It's people that like to push each other, but it's also community.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I wrap up practice. Practice ends at 7:30 each night, and I'm not locking the door till 8:30 because everybody's hanging out talking.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just a human need, that tribal need that we have to just be part of something. It fills that for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And so, and then I also feel like growth in any realm, as long as you're pushing, you're grinding, you're doing the right thing, growth is exponential. So it became, we were getting a couple new people a month and now a couple new people a week. And now we're getting hit up like daily with new people that want
I see the growth, man. You guys are killing it. I love what you're I love that people are gravitating towards doing something with their lives and
Mm-hmm.
community, and of course the physical activity. But also, I just love seeing like when that happens and attaches to something else that's already going on, like
Yeah.
what you're doing and this kind of movement.
Yeah.
Really,
And so, yeah, the third tier, to go back to what we were saying of like why people are coming to the gym, it's also people that followed my story
yeah,
and then just want to come up and meet me or train with me. And I mean, that story was it was international for a while. I
It
was
was,
getting hit
yeah.
up by people in Ireland and New
Yeah.
Zealand and Australia, but people that are within like a 2 to 3 hour drive, I've had people come up that live 2 hours south or whatever. They say, "Hey, I just want to train with you for the night,
Damn,
meet
dude.
you and shake your hand." So that's happened a lot too. And it's not feasible for them to become members,
Right, yeah.
but just to kind of come up and experience the gym and be part of the vibe. So
You've gone through a lot of transitions in life, man. You've gone from civilian to soldier to ranger to government contractor to cop,
Dude,
all
it's
along those ways, dad, husband, small business owner.
yeah,
Not to like put a label on where you are right now, but like now it's like you're doing same but different. I mean, you're now instead of
very
stepping,
different.
you're
Yeah.
instead of stepping into an entity and being a part of a well-oiled machine. I feel like you're kind of creating an entity and
Yeah.
creating a oil machine. What's this like for you? How's this different now?
Well, it's funny. I always tell people I'm good. I'm good for 5 years. Like I was in the
my
military.
my initial contract.
Yeah, like I was in the military for 5 years. I did a full 4 year enlistment as with the 75th Ranger Regiment, and then I went into aviation,
Mhm.
and I became a warrant officer, and then I got hurt.
No shit, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I got hurt
You
in
went
flight
warrant?
school.
Okay.
I was down at Fort Rucker, Alabama.
Yeah.
I was actually doing CrossFit of all things, and
That's ironic.
I was doing handstand push-ups.
Damn.
So you're in a handstand position, feet against the wall,
Mhm.
and I hemorrhaged my retina, and so
That's why you got the sunglasses on too.
yeah. So it was weird because I felt like pressure in my eye,
Yeah.
and then I went partially blind in my left eye.
Oh shit.
So I thought I was stroking out.
Damn.
Hindsight, I wouldn't have said a word, right? I would have
Wow.
just went with it. But I went to the hospital, and they said, "You're fine. You hemorrhage your retina, and when that happens, the blood pools up behind the retina, and it becomes a blind spot."
Mm.
And so they said, "Injury to your eye and
So there
flight
goes
school,
aviation.
you're out, man." And so I remember I was bummed out about it, but I'm also kind of like pretty good at rolling with the punches. So, dude, I went back to Iraq like within a week or something.
So were you still enlisted, or was that you got out and went contract?
I went out in contract.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I actually flew to Iraq from Fort Rucker,
Oh
Alabama.
shit. Hey, go from one airfield to another, man. That's
Yeah,
not bad. Yeah.
And I sent all of my stuff. I packed it all in my car and shipped it back to Seattle and went to Iraq. And so I contracted for about 5 years. And then I was with the Marshal Service for about 5 years. And then with this last agency, it was only 3.5. So, but no, it's,
Some solid seasons.
I'm coming to the realization that, again, what we touched on before we recorded, I need to be on my path. And if my path is not congruent with your path, then, I mean, it's all good, but we need to go our separate ways. And I need to focus on growing my family, my business, my wealth, my tribe, my community. And being part of these big agencies or these big corporations, they just feel self-serving. And it's like, sure, they may be giving me a paycheck, but I'm dedicating 10, 12 hours a day to something that's not serving me in the best capacity.
In a pretty grueling profession.
Yeah. No,
All
like,
of the above.
yeah, law enforcement, especially like patrol level officer, people don't realize the drain that has on you. And it's not, to clarify this, like people always talk about how like, oh, officers are putting their life on the line and it's super dangerous. Like there are instances that can be very dangerous, but that's not even what I'm referring to. It's the day-to-day grind.
The monotony.
Yeah, meaning everybody's looking at you kind of weird. Everybody treats you a little differently. Like when I'm dressed like this, I could talk to anybody. No big deal.
They're on the uniform. That
They're on
shit
the
changes.
uniform, and they treat me differently.
Yeah.
And dude, that actually weighed heavy on me because I'm not good at just being like, I'm a people person. So when people treated me differently when I was in uniform, it always bothered me. I'd always tell my wife, I'd get home from work and be like, I can't wait to get out of this fucking costume.
Like different, like good, bad, or just different?
Mostly not like overtly bad, but you could tell just a little distrustful.
Okay.
Not really wanting to engage you. Or if I'd talk to somebody, like something completely unrelated to police work, If I see someone with a Pantera shirt on, I'm going to talk to them about Cowboys from Hell, you know what I mean? But they would be less likely to want to engage you back.
I bet. Yeah, yeah.
And so then
Immediately go on the defensive.
yeah, you know, like I'm trying to snoop about something,
Yeah.
or I'm trying to trap them into telling me something.
Like, shit, what does he know?
It's like, bro, no, I'm just a metalhead like you are. But and then the other thing is, especially in Seattle, and I'm sure the patrol officers in LA would tell you the same thing. It's like the city's rotting from within.
Wow.
It's overrun with methamphetamine and heroin. And
I saw you like a couple weeks ago posted up. It was like the parking lot of a Chase Bank.
yeah,
Just like
full of tents.
bonfires and
Full
tents.
of tents,
just,
and they had barbecues and stuff out
Jeez.
there, and nobody's doing anything.
Wow.
And dude, I mean, for anybody listening that doesn't understand what's going on with the homeless epidemic, it's an addiction epidemic. That's what it is. As a police
There's
officer,
always a root cause.
yeah, every single person that I dealt with as a police officer that was homeless related, was addicted to heroin or methamphetamine. And so if you look at the cause of addiction, and I'm going to start going way outside of my wheelhouse, but those people, like 9 times out of 10, have been exposed to both physical and emotional trauma.
I believe it. Yeah.
And
And and it turns into a coping mechanism.
It turns into a coping mechanism. And this is something that I actually like. I mean, you too, being a soldier, like how many of our peers, including myself, have had mental health struggles coming home from war, having buddies blown up, all this stuff, right?
2 of my best friends from active duty took their own life because
See,
of it.
bro? And like, I actually listened to you and Nick's episode, and that's something that he said that was interesting. He's like,
Kumalatzos.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just dropped yesterday. Yeah.
he said they were killed in Iraq or Afghanistan. It just didn't catch up with them till they got
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Because I've had 3 teammates kill themselves in the last 2 years.
Jesus, man.
And the weird thing is, it seems like about 10 years removed from the war is when it started popping off.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
about right for I'll speak to my own trauma. It was about 10, 11 years that I could mask shit. I could mask a lot of things that I did and didn't do in the military. I could mask a lot of the traumas that happened with a lot of like death and loss in my life. And it was about that decade mark where I had no control of it. It just began to physiologically just boil out of me in terms of full-blown panic attacks, anxiety, almost seizures, and just like, I mean, PTSD is a sleeping giant, man.
No, it is.
And when it decides to wake up, it will fucking wreck you.
And it's, I also think that as you grow as a man or woman, like, and become mid-30s-ish,
Yeah.
you start to just learn more about your own vulnerabilities and kind of your own heart and things about you that if you tried to learn about those at 20, everyone would be calling you a fucking pussy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's no room for that in the Ranger Regiment. It's fucking suck it up and drive on.
That was exactly what it was for me. It was like I had no time. Maybe it was legitimate. Maybe it was an excuse. But when like I went through this traumatic experience with the death of my father, I had about 2 weeks. I was on emergency leave. I had to immediately go back to being a soldier. And then just how do you stuff that down for years? And you have to, or else, like the mission's going to suffer.
Yep.
You're going to fuck up. People could die.
And I tell people that all the time. Like, I don't fault the military for creating an environment where you stuff that shit down and you wake up the next morning and you go on your operations. Because, I mean, I've been on operations in like Ramadi, Iraq, where we saw a bunch of kids get killed. There's like 6 kids laying there dead. And I remember when we got back to base, one of my teammates was crying.
Yeah.
And the overwhelming like feeling on the team was, fuck those kids, dude. In 10 years, they're going to be shooting at us. That's a coping mechanism.
Yeah, you got to say that just to
You know what I'm
justify to
saying?
get through it. Yeah.
Because if you're going to start crying and be emotionally torn up because those kids died, guess what? Tomorrow morning, you're going back on another op.
Mm-hmm.
And
You become a liability.
you're not that wouldn't be a sustainable way to be deployed if you felt all those feelings each time something bad happened. And so I get it, man. And I don't know what the right answer is, but I think once you decide to put that lifestyle behind you, engaging in counseling and trying to be open about it, because dude, I got
100%.
I got roped into counseling by accident.
How so?
So I went to the VA because I wasn't even looking for any disability rating because I didn't give a shit,
Yeah.
And one of my buddies is like, bro, you were medically discharged for an injury to your eye. You have to go to the VA.
You got medically discharged. Me
Yes.
too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he goes, you have to go to the VA, at least get it on the books.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I was like, okay. So I sit down with, I don't know, the intake specialist or whatever they are. And they're like, okay, have you been exposed to IEDs? Yes.
Here it
Have you been
comes.
exposed to incoming? Yes. Have you been exposed to RPG fire? Yes.
This is all just triage. I know they ask this in triage all the time, just initial intake stuff.
Yeah, and
And
so-
you're like, yo, I thought you were just taking my blood pressure.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, dude, I'm here for an eye injury.
Yeah.
And now you're starting to
Yeah.
like, you want to look through my whole 201 file. And so after they went through all of this list of questions, they're like, okay, we're concerned about TBI injuries, and we're also going to set you up with a VA counselor because you have a substantial amount of combat. And even at the time, I was like, this is fucking stupid, dude. Like,
I'm fine.
what's some lady going to tell me about combat? You know? Well, guess what? She told me a lot. I was probably in her office for 15 minutes before I realized she knew me better than myself.
No shit, man.
And one thing she said to me, she goes, Greg, and she specializes in special operations combat veterans.
Oh, so she knows.
That's her niche.
She knows.
Yeah. And she goes, you guys are not as different as you might think. She goes, I hear the same story day in and day out. And she started telling me things and asking me questions. It was like, she does know me better than myself.
Shit, were you there? Like,
Yeah, seriously, dude. And I started sobbing, and I was like, I hadn't cried in like 15 years. or
wow.
something.
What was that like?
Dude, it was refreshing.
Was it just
That was the weird part
release?
about it. Yes.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, it's like, dude, all these things that we think as men are weak is like, dude, I'm a good fighter. I proved myself on the battlefield. I was proud of how I conducted myself in war. Like, why do I have to then portray some tough image? Like, dude, crying felt fucking good.
Yeah.
And now as a 40-year-old man, I'll say that. And if you don't like that, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like,
Dude, I cry all the time.
yeah, dude, I like.
It's so good.
And so, dude, I went back and saw that counselor probably 25 times.
Amazing.
And actually, well, it's through Zoom now, but we'll do like just little checkups like once every 6 months. And I sat down and had another meeting with her like a couple weeks ago. And I'll tell people to think, this is what's bizarre to me. I thought that this person couldn't offer me anything, right? But to think that talking about some hard things with somebody couldn't be beneficial, you're telling yourself a lie. The truth is, you don't want to be vulnerable. You don't want to put yourself out there, and you don't want to
You don't want to relive it.
yeah, and you don't
It's
want
it's a defense mechanism.
you don't
really.
want to show those emotions.
Yeah.
Like, no, we bottled them up. They're good. And no, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, man. It changed a lot of my perspectives. And so, but to go back to the whole homeless thing, it's like, I feel like all of our city leaders, our community leaders, and I use that word in quotation marks.
Okay.
And what are they doing to help these people? They're making heroin legal. They're making it legal to just sleep on the streets. They're enabling a lifestyle that is not
Wow.
sustainable for these people. Like, to really help them, dude, let's start looking at their trauma. Let's start actually, I mean, if you look at the amount of money and resources that goes to dealing with the homeless epidemic, and it's up and down the whole West Coast now,
Yeah.
LA, San Francisco, Seattle, like, actually put your money where your mouth is and help these people.
Imagine this.
'Cause we're not seeing that. You know?
Here's what we do see. I see a lot of on the weekends, there's you can roll through, you can get a hot meal, you can get a blanket. Like, imagine also if maybe this already exists. Imagine there was pop-up tents for therapy sessions. Imagine if there was traumatic counselors.
Well, and do you know what iboga is?
No.
Ibogaine. So
I don't think so.
What about ayahuasca? Have you
Oh,
heard of
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
ibogaine is
Plant medicine.
similar to ayahuasca.
Okay.
And actually, my own podcast released this morning, and it was a psychedelic specialist that talked about all this stuff.
Okay, that one, yeah.
Dude, there's people that have been addicted to heroin for 20 years, and they do one session of iboga,
Wow.
and they're off.
Wow.
And I've actually, and soldiers are doing this too for PTSD. One of my best friends went and did it, and he's like, dude, in a matter of 3 days, my PTSD is gone.
It's being cured.
Cured.
Cured, absolutely. I recently, actually, I haven't talked about this publicly, but fuck it. I've been using psilocybin, psychedelic mushrooms and a lot of things. And I have had, in the past 6 months, The most healing of my entire life in 35 years of
Yeah.
of just, and it's wild because it quickly puts you into a state of being of like reliving that trauma.
Yep.
And it's scary, but at the same time, it's very like, it's a safe place. And I immediately was transported back in time to this traumatic event. And then, but I could just walk through it. It's like, you're terrified, you're scared, and then you're just like, you're there, you're present, you're aware, you see it all. And then at the end, I probably look like a crazy person. I'm talking to myself, but at the end, I was just like, I'm good.
Yes, dude.
And like, healed.
No,
Healed.
it's bizarre that like I feel like the American approach to drugs is just like cookie cutter.
Totally ass backwards.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, drugs are bad. Well,
If you use it, you will burn in hell. And
what is a
yeah.
drug?
Yeah.
Because a psilocybin mushroom and a syringe full of heroin have nothing to do with each other.
Mhm.
You know? And there's been a lot of people now that have proven that the use of psychedelics helps you get over emotional trauma.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't even surprise me for a second to hear you say that. And it helps you unpack it, relive it, just like you were saying. And then once you are open and accepting about the experience, now you can put it behind you
Absolutely.
instead of it being bottled up.
Yeah.
Because shit, if you bottle shit up, it's gonna come out
100%.
one way or another. And it comes out, I mean, part of my PTS was like having zero fuse.
Mm.
You know,
What do you mean by that?
like if a guy, well, for instance, a guy yelled at my kids at the pool for running. Hey, there's no
Okay.
running here. You need to start. And I'm like, what, motherfucker? Talk to my kids like that again, and I'll fucking kill you. Like I go right to that. And the thing is, I would too.
Wow.
Like if he'd be like, what are you gonna do? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he came back,
you
at
won't?
me, yeah, like it's gonna be to the death.
Wow, shit.
And it's like, dude, do I really need to lose my life or
Yeah.
go to prison because some fat old man yelled at my daughters? No. And it's I realize like I'm very often very unreasonable. Or same thing, like I mean, where did you deploy to? Was it
So I was actually going to ask you, I want to get into a section here because my missions, I was military intelligence. I ran all behind the scenes stuff. I ran a lot of operation support for like human trafficking, drug trafficking, sex trafficking. I worked a lot of like DRT systems out of like Texas and South America.
Yeah.
And then my main job, I was a military intelligence Russian linguist. So we ran like over here for things over there.
Got it.
But I was reaching a point in like my mental health bottomed out. My dad died. He was like my hero, my icon. He had a very horrible terminal illness, and like I completely just lost the will to live. And like I was never suicidal, but I didn't care if I woke up or not. And so I was putting myself on volunteer rosters for deployments, like just to like table my job, and I just wanted to be fucking boots on the ground because I wanted to come back in a coffin. And it was in pre-deployment training. I was out in the field for just a few days at this point, and I was leading an ambush on the Op 4, and that's when I suffered my career-ending injuries. Snapped my back, tore my hamstring, wound up having to have completely both of my hips reconstructed. I got sent to a BAMC, the Warrior Transition Unit, for almost I was a patient for like a year and a half. I went through the ringer, but it was because I was trying to be put into a position to just like suffer the most amount of pain and trauma that I could imagine.
So isn't it crazy how life happens?
Yeah.
Like, and dude, this last year, because I've never been a very spiritual person, but there's a bigger picture going on. You know,
I have
what
to
mean?
believe it. Yeah,
And
have
I
to
don't
believe
know
it.
if it's an energy thing or if it's like a creator thing, but hearing stories like that, you're trying to put yourself in a situation to get yourself killed.
Yeah.
And I've been there before, dude. Like, I hope, like,
'Cause
I'm not coming home from this
I
deployment.
would support it all the time. I would like provide the intelligence. I would do things, and then I would directly see what would happen after that, the aftermath. So like, yeah, like I wasn't in the thick of it, but like I was enough aware of it to give me the idea that I want to be a part of that for like the wrong reasons.
Yeah, it's weird how it's weird hearing you say like after your dad died, you kind of spiraled downhill.
Yeah.
Because I had a lot of issues in my head, and when my dad passed, it was in 2015, and he died of dementia.
Oh my God, damn.
It was an 8-year process of him
Wow.
slowly declining
Wow.
to the point where he couldn't even put pants on.
Wow.
And my dad, same as yours. Like,
Yeah.
was a hero, like super stud.
My dad, 101st Airborne, 11 Bravo, like
Uh-huh.
badass. Yeah, man.
And so it was weird because after that, I did become suicidal at certain points. And I always wondered if it was like, well, dad died. It's almost giving you a pass,
Right. Yeah.
you know, like that's the natural progression, you know? But yeah, that was it was weird how watching him go through that and then experience that, I fucking spiraled out of control for a while too. And trauma comes in a lot of different ways, you know,
Yeah.
because that has nothing to do with being a soldier. But like you said, it did in your circumstance.
And
'Cause
then
you didn't get the right process to grieve.
Oh
and
no, not at
whatnot.
all. And then like it even put me in this whole other space of when I was in that unit, I got yanked from my normal unit, got sent to this. I was just my only job was just like they would cut me open, heal, cut me open, heal. But I would go. We had a random few formations, and like the guys that I was there with, they were the ones coming back from theater. They were the
Yeah,
ones coming
okay.
paraplegic, quadriplegic, head to toe burns. Like, and on top of all that, I realized this years later in therapy, like severe survivor's remorse. Like it was bad enough. Like I saw a glimpse of probably what my future would have been if I actually was
Yeah.
successful in being over there. I could have been back here. Like what I went through sucked. It was miserable for sure. But like I have my arms, I have my legs.
Yeah.
I made it through in ways that a lot of other guys and girls did not. And that was just like maybe it was kind of like a maybe it was what I was supposed to go through. I'm just kind of realizing this now. Maybe it was almost like not a punishment, but like
Blessing in
a
disguise.
year and a half of like, hey Chase, like this could have been your future. Like
Yeah.
you know, this could have been you.
No, it's bizarre
Damn.
how that kind of stuff plays out.
It's wild.
You know. Yeah. So the reason I asked you where do you deploy to is because like I know a lot of times when you come back, the roads trigger a lot of stuff for people too.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know.
For me, it was all auditory. Like the things that I
Yeah,
would do,
so-
like I would hear things and know things are going on. Like I'm supposed to fucking like maneuver this way, or I need to let somebody know, or I need like this shit's sketch. Like it's just it was my senses were in tune in a much different way.
Yeah, that's interesting. But dude, nobody gets out scot free, you know?
Yeah.
Like to think that you're going to, and I tell people that now going into the military is like, I'm not saying don't do it. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing.
Same,
Like
yeah,
I loved
yeah.
it, you know? But at the same time, I think I'd be better at it now, kind of understanding what's going to take place on the back end of it.
Kind of knowing the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm very similar to you to where my injury prevented me from doing what I wanted to do. I wanted to fly. But then I think about how many birds got shot down in Afghanistan,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it's
Yeah.
like a moment in time that changed the whole trajectory of my life
Yeah.
from one CrossFit
I
workout.
was gonna say it's because of CrossFit,
Yeah.
like it changed your whole
So
life.
I joke CrossFit saved my life because, I mean, I wanted to fly for the 160th.
Okay.
And that was my goal to get there at some point, you know? And it's a dangerous ass job. A lot of those pilots aren't with us anymore, you know?
Yeah. I always joke, my family, like we love to serve. It's like every generation's been in. My dad got medically discharged as well. He was a Persian Gulf vet. He was in a helicopter accident out of
shit.
the 101st Airborne. He was in their the Rakkasans, like the air
Yeah.
assault unit.
Yep.
And it was almost like the exact same thing in Black Hawk Down. When like rappelling out of the helicopter, the chopper drops a little bit too low, too much slack in the line, and so like you hit the ground before you run out of line, and so he just fucking just crushes back. He got out, completely rebuilt his spine, basically.
Yeah.
We love to go in for that first 4-6 years, man, and that's it for us. Yeah,
Dude, the roping out of the back of a bird is fucking sketch, dude.
it's wild. Yeah,
Because, so I was a rope master, which means I'm the guy that sends the rope out,
Yeah.
and then you watch the end of the rope
Uh.
to make sure that it's on the ground before you start kicking the troops out. But the thing is, so you tie a chem light at the base of the rope,
okay.
and you tie a second one 6 feet up. So when you're looking down, and
So you know that the bottom isn't the bottom. You got some depth perception.
yeah, so you want to see the two lines are like hovering right on top of each other, and as soon as you see them go vertical, you know it's on the ground.
Okay.
So you send the dudes out. But there's been times where like they're hitting a tree branch or something, you know, so it looks like it's on the ground,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not. And then the other thing is like roping out of Blackhawks is actually pretty easy, but the 47s, you have to rope out of the ramp. And dude, I mean, I'm 6 feet tall. I got pretty long arms, and you have to reach to the point where you're fully committed. You start to fall, you get the rope, and then you go out.
Damn, man.
And I remember thinking, like, dude, some of the short rangers, like, if this is tough for me, dude, if you're 5'6" or something, you almost got to jump to that
Yeah,
thing,
seriously,
you
that's
know?
fully committed. Jesus.
I look back on all the shit that we did in my early 20s in the regiment, though, and it's like jumping out of helicopters and airplanes and
Yeah.
deploying all the time. The fact that more people don't get fucked up is actually kind
Oh
of
my
shocking.
God. We my unit at the time, we were like heavy into mount training. And I mean, I was '03 to '09. I mean, it was at the height of OIF, OAF. So
Yeah.
that was just like all like, hey, train how you're going to fight kind of thing. And it was just, mount training was no joke, man. They would build complete civilizations on base, and like we would just run through multiple buildings, multiple levels, and like that shit is just, you get sloppy once, like you're falling out of a window, or there's no windows. It's
Yeah.
just like those shit. I mean, it's meant to be a building, but it's just, you could easily kind of knock shit over, and it's just, I can only imagine actually like out of a bird into the same situation. But
Yeah.
the mount scenarios were wild.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the military does a good job at, like, especially, I mean, pre 9/11, I joined in 99, so I got to see both sides, peacetime and wartime.
That's
army.
right. That's right. Yeah.
And I mean, before 9/11, the whole mission was focused on the war on drugs,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
going to Colombia and hitting and attacking FARC
Yeah.
outposts.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff I would do when I was in Texas for a little bit, running some joint operations with like, you ever do like DRT, dirt? It's big. You're like intercepting. I don't know how much of the shit I'm supposed to be talking about, but it's just like DRT, like intercepting.
When we use the term DRT, it means he's dead right there.
This is some fucking sophisticated equipment where you
Okay.
you intercept various forms of communication, predominantly running human trafficking, sex trafficking through the Texas and Mexico border.
Oh, okay.
And like, dude, the shit that would come through comms on that line was just like, talk about hearing the bad guys out there in the world, just like complete lack of respect for any other form of human being. It's just like, that shit's
Dude,
real.
and,
Like, it's
yeah,
not in a
and
movie.
some people need to be shot in the face,
Yeah.
dude. That's that's the reality of the world that we live in.
Some of the nasty shit that goes on in the shadows.
No, we did a lot of train up for South America stuff, but we never did any real world operations down there. So yeah, it's funny when I hear people talk about that. I actually heard someone say that the other day. They're like, "Oh, my husband was in the Ranger Regiment, and he used to go down to Colombia, and they get in fucking gunfights and stuff." I'm like, "No, sorry. I know Ranger history pretty well. You know, like Ranger history is actually a very there's a lot of pride in that, and like when you join the Ranger Regiment, part of that is you have to attend Ranger history classes when you're in.
Oh no shit. Well,
That's part of assessment and selection.
Okay.
And so, like, you learn about all the previous conflicts and deployments and everything.
I love that. That's tight.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
So what about your future, man? You've gone through so much. Talked about all these seasons of life for you, and just what this new one that you're still in
Yeah, the
has
new
that
one,
to offer. Like,
the new one's been the best, man.
Yeah?
And it's because
what's on the horizon for you,
I'm
man?
steering the boat, and it feels really fucking good. And so, we launched my own podcast, Endless Endeavor, with the help of you,
Killing it.
obviously. And
Killing
it's
it.
been, man, what a fun journey it's been so far. So, like we already talked about, the gym is blowing up. My gym at Jiu-Jitsu Academy is doing very well. And then we're going to start running some tactical firearms training.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also that blew up very quickly.
Yeah, you were just telling me.
And I mean, we put our first course together. It's called Guns and Geese, and it sold out in 2 days.
Damn.
So now we're looking at putting together a couple follow-up courses. But the interesting thing is, like, between the podcast and the firearms training and jiu-jitsu, I'm actually doing better, like, financially than I was as a police officer.
Oh shit.
Like, this was our first month, February, where we're like, oh, I made more money
Damn.
than I was making as a police officer.
Congrats, man.
And the thing is, it's like, what you're chasing shouldn't necessarily all be financially driven. But guess what? I have 3 kids, and this is the world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And if what you're doing isn't providing enough income, then it gets really fucking hard. And I've been in transition phases before where I've had to take money out and be in debt and stuff. Bro, debt eats away at you just like PTSD
It's
eats away at you.
fucking gnawing stressor.
It's terrible.
It's lurching in the
man.
shadows all the time.
And so I feel like, and obviously we were blessed with that GoFundMe.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
That
yeah.
was insane.
Yeah.
Right. And that really helped me launch the podcast. It helped me
transition.
Yeah,
fully.
put a bunch of resources into the gym, and yeah, for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm steering my own ship, and I'm excited about it. And so I've been joking, like I'll never go back to work because I've
Yeah.
had a lot of people be like, "Dude, you want to?" Especially initially, a lot of police departments were like, "Do you want to come work for us?"
Really? Wow.
Oh, dude, we got
Wow.
offers all over the country,
Wow.
and I'm like, "Nope, I'm done being a cop,"
Wow.
because I just can't be part of something anymore to where if it benefits an agency or a corporation to do the wrong thing, especially at my expense, because we've been seeing that nationwide with cops.
Hmm.
They're hanging dudes out to dry for just to appease public opinion or to try and not rock the boat at all. And it's like, I can't be part of that stuff anymore.
Mm.
So now I'm on my trajectory, and the podcast is, I mean, that's why I'm in LA right now doing your show. I got a couple cool shows booked down here.
You got some solid lineups.
Yeah, dude. And it's like, never in my life would I think sitting here speaking into a microphone would be something that other people would enjoy.
Yeah.
But dude, I get fucking messages every single day.
I believe it.
And some of them are powerful. Like, I had a young kid who's like 17. He wrote me, he's like, dude, my dad left me when I was like 3. I've never had any positive male figures in my life. And he goes, I listened to you and
Wow.
you and Mike Glover.
Damn, dude.
And you two guys have like,
That episode, by the way, was fire, dude. I love that. The whole
Yeah,
like
Mike Glover.
preparedness. Dude, he's
Mike
a
Glover's
badass,
a
dude.
stud, dude. I don't know if
Damn.
you follow him or
I after I found him through your
Okay.
for your show. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. And the cool thing about Mike Glover is like he's as badass as dudes get when it comes from like tactical background and
Yeah.
capabilities. But he's just chill.
Yeah.
And he's fucking cool and fun and like just a relaxed guy to be around.
Those are the most badass guys.
Yeah,
You can
dude.
tell if
There's
they're
no-
always cool, calm, and collective
Yeah.
because you know, like at any moment,
It's
they can
on.
go any which way and
Yeah,
they're fine.
dude.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I got the message from this kid that's like, hey, you know, you and Mike Glover have like kind of been my mentors.
Mm.
And so I screenshotted it and I sent it to Mike. And he's like, man, he goes, think about when we were his age. Like we read books
Mm.
to get perspective and learn about guys that served and all this. But now this generation actually gets to kind of connect with people that have been there, done that.
Yeah.
And you can kind of pick your mentorship. And so he goes, I just enlisted. I'm going into the Air Force, and it's because of you and Mike. And I was like, man, like to think
That's some
about
powerful shit.
to think about just pushing record on your Roadcaster, sitting here with a buddy talking about whatever, but it's having profound impacts on some people's life.
Yeah.
And that's some powerful shit, man. I've always enjoyed leadership. Like I always talk about it on my show. I enjoy reading Jocko's books and leadership podcasts and whatnot because I think leadership is one of the most powerful tools in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because you're using your own energy and how you project yourself onto other people to influence them
Mm.
to do something specifically that you want them to do, right? And so if leadership is used properly and ethically, it's the most powerful tool on planet Earth. And so to see me being looked at from other people and held in a high regard like that, it's just cool to see because like I was an E5 and then I was a warrant officer. So my leadership level,
I was the E6, no big deal.
yeah. Yeah, so you had a squad, I had a team, right? But like I was never this like proficient leader.
Mm.
I had a squad, a guy or a team of guys, and then when I contracted, I was a team leader for a while. But the thing that I've been putting together with leadership is I think the strongest levels of leadership, or I should say like your leadership capabilities, are developed at the lowest levels. Because when you're looking at guys face to face at the squad and the team level, and you're talking to them every day, you're on patrol with those guys every day, how you can get those guys to believe in you is true leadership capabilities and principles. That's going to carry you over to when one day you are a fucking battalion commander.
And in turn, to get them to believe in themselves.
Yeah. And so,
This may be a broad question, but how would you kind of describe or define leadership in America right now? And just interpret that as you will. Like, do you think we have?
no, I don't think we have leadership
Okay.
in America. I mean,
I will even say, I'll caveat by saying I don't know if that's a bad thing. I say that because I like how, in my personal opinion, I viewed this past year, a lot of people like we were saying earlier, whether they're in the fringe, whether they're left, right, middle, whatever, I think a lot of people, majority of people, are finally beginning to think for themselves.
Yes.
And sometimes that stirs the pot, sometimes that gets a little wild, but I personally think the more we can think for ourselves and think of others, I like to believe that will turn into something good
Yeah.
and turn into like some kind of harmony.
And something has to change because the trajectory we're on is not sustainable. I don't feel it is. And this is why. I've worked for some of the greatest leaders on planet Earth, guys that would die for me,
Mm-hmm.
guys that have led me on operations where you don't think you're coming back, right? And what I've learned about leadership since the time I was both a follower and then as a leader, leadership is a burden. Like you shouldn't
Heavy is the head that wears the crown,
that's
right?
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't want to be like chomping at the bit for the promotion or raising your hand, me, because dude, leadership is hard and it's a burden. And leadership in its foundational principles is wanting the best for the people underneath you. How can I enrich their lives? How can I enrich their career? Because if you approach it like that, you're going to show the people that are underneath you, oh, this isn't just some bullshit. This isn't just some guy in a suit. This is a guy that wants to see me succeed. This is a guy that wants to see me do well and prosper. So how do you get somebody
How do you do that?
to believe in you like that?
How have you done that?
You have to care about them as a person.
Okay.
In my opinion, you are not a leader unless you care about your subordinates as a person. You should know their wife's name. You should be concerned if they're going through a bankruptcy. Like you should know the things about them that make them tick, and you should have a genuine concern and desire to see them do well. If the people underneath you feel that energy from you and see that that's genuinely who you are, they will fucking follow you into fire.
Yeah.
Right? I think very few of the leadership in America right now, I don't think they're doing it to serve. I think they're doing it to self-serve.
Okay.
And all the both political parties, do they want to see the American people prosper or do they want to gain financial wealth and power? I feel like that's where we're at with politics right now. And I don't know where we're going to go, but I feel like more and more people are becoming aware that these two major political parties that are calling all the shots, do they really give a shit about you? I don't think so. You know, they take all of our money and disperse it all over the world and give you $600 after they shut your business down for a year.
Fucking joke.
You know?
I want to that point, like with this new level of awareness, and I agree with this new level of awareness in many ways for Americans right now. What are you most hopeful for?
I don't know if I can say it on your show.
What you think is what you think.
I want people to realize like the corruption and the dirtiness at all levels, from city council to our mayors to our governors, all the way up to our Congress. And we need a fucking reset. Now, I'm not saying we should go in there and pull them all out in chains, but we need to use our power to vote and figure out how to put quality people into politics that put Americans first. And I just don't know if there's...
What does that look like?
I don't know if there's enough people that want those jobs. Because, dude, do you want to be a mayor of some city?
Yeah, to your point earlier, like that's a massive responsibility, especially with the climate of the world right now.
Yeah, I don't want that. I've had so many people that have reached out to me, get into politics. And I'm like, I don't want to touch politics with a 10-foot pole.
Anderson for mayor.
Yeah, dude, because this is your life, right? This is your one shot at life. Do you want to surround yourself with positivity and jiu-jitsu and things that like you enjoy? Or do you want to be fighting like opposing political leaders and like campaigning and it just seems gross, you know?
Is it Abraham Lincoln? I feel like it's one of our founding fathers that was just so adamant, like we should never want to be in the position of power. We should never want to be the top, like the food chain.
No,
but
I mean, George
but only
Washington,
if the situation calls upon.
Yeah, I believe it was Washington that said like you should go from the plow to Congress, then back to the plow.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's a phase of your life that's more dedicated in service than power.
You know, he, someone might correct me if I'm wrong here, but he is actually the role model that has been set for every president afterwards as to why there's only 2 terms.
Yeah.
It's not technically a law that you can only serve 2. I think it's just always been because, like, that's what Washington did.
People are going to start Wikipediaing that right
Yeah,
now.
like,
Chase doesn't know what
I feel like
the
that's,
fuck he's talking about.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but like it was like a precedent set by him
Yeah.
of like, that's a true leader. Like, don't just lifetime power suck, you know?
Yeah.
You serve, and then you go back and you let someone else serve.
Yeah, why would any politician want to be a politician for 50 years? Like,
They're in it for the wrong reasons.
They're in it for the wrong
Yeah.
reasons, right? And it's funny, man, because I'm more of a conservative. I tend to lean right on stuff, but I hate how issues have to be divided left or right. Like, I can be pro-gun and pro-environment.
Yeah, why does it have to be
You know what
polar
I'm
opposites
saying?
all the
Yeah,
time?
like, oh, you're for like protecting the environment. You must be on the left. Oh, you like owning a firearm. You must be on the right. And it's weird how we constantly get divided and put into these boxes. And it's like, no, all that shit's nuanced. You know?
And especially to the point it puts people in the position of being afraid to say what they really think.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what if somebody finds out that I think that?
Yeah.
Like, you're another line in the sand that's gonna be drawn.
It's just bizarre.
It's just more division, more division, more division. And I think now more than ever, man, it's just like, I don't know if it's finally you need to find that intestinal fortitude to just spend the time to figure out what you do believe in, what you don't believe in, and figure out the right way to say it, but not out of the concept of like, I'm going to be rejected, I'm going to be put into fear. Like if everybody can get to that point of knowing what you believe and sharing it, and we can all just like agree that everyone gets to say that, everyone gets to think that and believe that, and work towards some kind of common good. I mean,
Dude,
why do we have to be divided all the time?
I think like a lot of people in politics and just life in general are pandering because they don't want to offend people, right? But the reality is that actually causes more dissension amongst the ranks because authenticity, you know where people are at on stuff.
Yeah.
And like I've talked about that a lot. It's like I've drawn some hard lines in the sand with my gym and with my work, and it's like that may rub some people the wrong way, but at least you know where I'm at on stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can say like, yeah, I support Greg, or I fucking hate that guy.
Yeah.
But at least you know where I'm at on stuff. Politicians are never willing to do that. And it's interesting. The one, do you follow Tulsi Gabbard?
No.
So she's a congresswoman out of
Okay.
Hawaii, and she's a Democrat.
Okay.
And so whenever I speak highly of her, I get people writing me, fucking Tulsi's policy on this, and she's a fucking Democrat. That it's like, bro, listen, I'm not here discussing policy. Okay, I'm telling you that Tulsi Gabbard holds a high regard for the American people. She puts them first, and the words that are coming out of her mouth are congruent with what she believes in her heart.
Hey,
Those
I
two
like that.
things make you someone that I'm going to listen to,
Yeah.
and someone that I would like to have a conversation with, right? So she ran for president last year,
No shit.
and dude, the Clintons fucking like blackballed her almost immediately.
No way. I didn't hear about this at all.
Yeah, dude.
I'm not like super involved in
No, and so yeah, I mean, listen to her. It's an interesting
Okay.
story. She was on Rogan 2 weeks ago.
No shit.
And Rogan brought up how like it seems like COVID has been weaponized because there's been hard lines drawn on what is right and what is wrong based on your political party. If you're a Democrat, you should support wearing a mask. If you're a Republican, you're a fresh air breather. It's like it's just one more thing.
You're a
that's
mouth
like,
breather.
Yeah, it's just one more thing that's just right down a political party line, right? How could a medical emergency, how could a pandemic be divided up down a political line? It doesn't make any sense, you know? And so Rogan brought that up, and he goes, hey, it feels like people are playing politics with this. And he goes, I hate to admit that, but how can we not bring this up, you know?
Yeah, how can we just not address
How can we not
possible
address
variable?
it, you know? And she goes, oh, that's not a conspiracy theory, Joe. She goes, I can tell you a story sitting in the Capitol. We passed a bill. Check this shit out, dude.
No
She goes,
shit.
we passed a bill to have people that have been incarcerated on marijuana charges released from federal custody, right? She goes, because
times are changing. Marijuana is accepted by most many states now.
Decriminalized in most
states. It's decriminalized, right? So they submitted a bill to have a bunch of people removed or let go from custody, right? And she said, one of the most prominent Democrats in Congress said, and this was a few months ago, right? Let's not move this bill forward until after inauguration because we would hate to see Trump get credit for it. And she goes, I was sitting there like my jaw dropped because they're playing political games while some human being is locked in a cage.
Yeah, like fuck right and wrong.
Yeah,
fuck like how law has changed, society has changed.
We as a country has decided these people should probably be free. But no, let's just let them sit in a cage for 2 more months because we would hate if that made Trump look good. Like, that's where we're at on politics.
Where, like, the opposite, if they decided, like, what you did was wrong and lawful, like, best believe we're slapping cuffs on you and you're going behind bars. Like, we're going to take you now.
Yeah.
But on the opposite side, it's like, no, we can wait.
Yeah, dude. It's so, yeah, no, I actually like that. That's a good point. Like, no, if I do something wrong, you should,
yeah, you're detaining me now.
Yeah.
Like, you're throwing me in now. But, like, once you deem that what you did was wrong or, like, it's no longer illegal, you can just sit on it.
And so I feel like all the political elite will play politics and put their self-serving needs above the people. And what do we do with that? I mean, fuck, dude, we're in Los Angeles right now. This is the epicenter of bullshit.
Seriously?
You have your mayor, Garcetti, saying, like, if you have people over for Thanksgiving, we're shutting your power and your water off. And then you see all these people that are claiming all this stuff going out.
Oh, yeah.
And not adhering to their own rules, right? And so bro, military 101. Ask nothing of your men you're not willing to do yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If for no other reason, perception.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
When the last time they did all the shutdowns for the restaurants of no outdoor dining, I forget her name, the person.
City councilwoman that pushed the agenda.
The one who tipped it over that night.
Yeah.
She was out at a restaurant.
Yeah. And then she lied about it. Because she said, well, I wanted to say goodbye because it's my favorite restaurant. And so
cool, I'll just go fuck myself.
Yeah, some reporter went out there and like talked to the restaurant. They're like, she didn't say anything to anybody.
Jesus.
There was no conversations had. But I mean, and this is, for me, there was too many things like that took place, which is what motivated me to open my business back up. Because here's the thing, man. If you felt that COVID was so dangerous that if we went out to a restaurant, you could die, right? Like, if that's where I felt in my own heart, then I wouldn't be out at a restaurant.
Right, yeah.
I'd be like, hey, I'm proposing these restrictions because I'm literally concerned about people's lives.
Yeah.
I still think it's unconstitutional. If I want to go die, that's on me, right? But at least if the politicians' hearts were authentic and like, guys, I know we're kind of trampling on your liberties. We're kind of shitting on you guys by shutting all your businesses down, but it's because we legitimately care about you. I could look at that a little differently.
Sure, yeah.
But when they say that, and then that lady goes out to dinner that night.
Do as I say, not as I do.
And then your governor is out at private house parties and shit.
Was it like was he in Napa or something?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, like a party of 12 or something.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
This is all just lip service.
Talk about the quickest way, me personally, to like lose respect for somebody as a leader.
100%.
Is to do as I say, not as I do kind of thing.
It's such a simple concept.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, dude. Like, if you were it doesn't matter where you grew up in Amazon. Like, you started loading boxes, and then you became a driver, and then you became a supervisor. Or the military, where you're a private, then you're a specialist, and then you're a sergeant. Like, a lot of people learn about leadership incrementally, right?
Yeah. You have to.
You have to. Bro, when you just, hey, I put my name on a ballot and a bunch of people voted for me, and now I'm in charge of serving fucking 10 million people.
It doesn't really work that way.
It doesn't work that way, and we're seeing that, you know?
That's an interesting point. I've thought about it like that.
No, I think incremental leadership's important, dude. It has to happen that way, because then you learn how leadership flows both ways. You learn, like, as a private, you're on the receiving end of it. Some of my biggest leadership lessons were being a 19-year-old private, looking at certain NCOs and saying, I will never fucking do that.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
That was how I learned what kind of leader I wanted to be. As I got promoted, worked my way up the ranks. It was like, I will never be like him
Yeah.
or her. And like that was just as necessary as were all the great leaders. I had.
Exactly. And so you take those lessons, and some of the most important lessons develop just from being around really good people
Yeah.
and really shitty people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I feel like everybody in Congress needs to go read Extreme Ownership. You know?
Dichotomy of leadership.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
basic
Yeah.
leadership principles. I always talk about Jocko on my show is that the principles that he teaches are fucking kind of military leadership 101.
Yeah.
Like shoot, move, and communicate.
Yeah, yeah.
It's shit you learn in basic training.
Yeah.
But if you can apply that to your life outside of the military, people are having a lot of success with it. And that's why he's doing so well.
The most fundamental thing is just be able to detach from the situation.
Yeah.
Like you can't always stay in the eye of the hurricane and think you can effectively navigate the hurricane. You got to pull out and you got to see what are the moving parts. Where am I actually on path? Who are the people contributing to this? Yeah, detachment. That's one of my favorite concepts.
Dude, detachment's been one of the hardest for me because I'm a passionate person. So if something's happening, like I want to be in the fucking middle of it, you know? But no, not only like detaching physically, like taking a few steps back, but emotionally. That's the biggest one. Detach emotionally.
That's the one where you probably don't realize you are as attached.
Yeah.
You know, really detach and look at your emotional like investment.
But I've found that to be a huge tool too, because and my wife, she's the fucking I call her Cersei from Game of Thrones because she's playing.
Is that a compliment?
Yeah, bro, it is because she's playing 3D chess all the time when I'm playing checkers.
Oh,
you know
wow.
what I'm
Okay,
saying?
yeah.
And it's like she sees things and she sees layers that are multiple layers deep that are below the surface that I can't even begin to understand.
Wow.
And so she's always like, "Hey, just relax, okay? Like, don't get emotional about it. Let's think about it for a little bit." And she's just much more calculated than I've ever been on stuff. And that's why we're a good team, you know?
It's a good team, and I think also now more than ever, like I've been through a lot of passionate moments this past year, but it has helped me realize the necessity to be more calculated in a caring way.
Yeah.
Because there are so many more moving parts, and there's so much more passion in all spectrums going on in the States and in the world. Like you would be a fool to not think that like other people have agendas. There's going to be aftermath. There's going to be good things and bad things, and it's like not to like live in fear, stay in panic response mode. But you would be a fool to not think like this is going to have repercussions. I need to think longer term, bigger picture.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, just to circle back to the Mike Glover conversation.
Oh yeah, shit.
That's like the biggest takeaway of spending an afternoon with that guy is like he's prepared for the worst, but it doesn't bother him at all. He's not afraid. Like you said, he's not living in fear. There's no anxiety attached to it.
Yeah.
He's just being him, enjoying himself, having good relationships with people, like running his business, and he's doing very well for himself. And if the fucking apocalypse hits, okay, I got it. We're good, you know?
Yeah.
And I've been trying to impart that on my team, like my Jiu-Jitsu Academy and my tribe of people. That's what we call ourselves now. Like
Love it. Yeah.
our group of people up in Seattle, we call it Tribe Fest. Yeah, dude. But like that's where I'm at on a lot of different, like just how I'm approaching life overall. It's like, yeah, you do need your health. You need your fitness. Like the original piece of combat equipment is your body, right? Everything else is secondary to that.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't just you shouldn't just take care of your health because we might be in war someday. You should take care of your health because it's going to make you a happier person. It's going to make you a more capable person. You're going to have better relationships. Like everything is better if your body works well, right?
Amen, brother.
And that's what I'm starting to realize is the things that would make us successful if the world were to go to shit are the same principles and the same preparations that will make you successful if the world doesn't go to shit.
Dude, I love that.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a promo clip right there.
Yeah. So, bro. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm focusing on. Yeah, I'm gonna focus on my health.
Yeah.
I'm gonna focus on my family. I'm gonna focus on the relationships with the people that I love and that I hold in a high regard. I'm gonna do all these things while simultaneously, just like we talked about before. I just got word that I'm getting 30 acres out in the mountains, right? And so, yes, I am taking some steps because you don't want to be caught off guard if things do go bad. But at the same time, I'm not thinking of it as like doomsday prepper. I'm thinking about it as, dude, this is the trajectory and this is where I want to move the needle. This is
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the most fundamental thing.
And so it's actually been less stressful because I'll tell you what, I mean, I don't think I'm alone here. There was a period of time where I was like, dude, we're going into civil war. Like,
Things were not looking.
They were not
against
looking
that.
good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude, in Seattle, like you had not only the political divide, but you had mobs of people like burning buildings down and like taking over police precincts and stuff. And I was like, dude, at some point,
like we're that close.
We're right there,
Yeah.
you know. And dude, I mean, I had like it's not your responsibility to save the world. That's your responsibility now. And again, she was like always talking me off the ledge. And so, but I put a high regard in her words, and I was like, that's right. You know, like I don't need to interject myself into situations that aren't affecting me personally. Okay. And so that's kind of where I stand on everything. If it comes to the point where my children are being affected, all right, I'm ready to fight to the death on it. But outside of that, like, dude, just chase the good things in life. Chase jujitsu, chase relationships, like have fun. And again, if you're ready and you're prepared, when things go bad, you're good.
Yeah.
You know.
And when they go well, you're good too.
yeah, you're good and you're good. So.
Well, dude, I think that's a great way to kind of close it up, bring it full circle. I definitely could sit here way longer with you, but yeah, I got round 2 coming up. I'm just so popular these days.
Yeah. You got to kick me out of here, right? You got to open up my parking spot so your next guest can come in.
But dude, I want to bring it full circle and ask my final question, and you'll appreciate this one as well. So I always ask, ever forward. That's the show, that's the brand, that's the mission, it's my mantra. Came from my father through his whole life, but definitely through losing him. He was just somebody that embodied that, like literally no matter fucking what, like just keep going.
Yeah.
And he actually picked it up, his first unit. He was a guard guy before he went active, out of the 116th Infantry Regiment out of Virginia. It's a creed, it's their motto, ever forward. It goes all the way back to fucking like Revolutionary days, American Revolution.
That's awesome, dude.
It's their unit insignia. So what does that mean to you, man? How do you live a life ever forward?
I mean, I think ever forward is kind of embodying the same thing that you hear in all the special operations units is just the never quit mentality. Never give up, always pushing forward. I mean, if you look at any of the selections, that's why the SEALs have the bell, Rangers have, what is it?
You tell me I wasn't the Ranger.
LOM, lack of motivation,
yeah.
right? They kick you out, right? And so if you can figure out how to not just have a never quit mentality, bro, it's almost freeing to you because you understand, like, no matter how bad it gets, I can always put one foot in front of the other. And I'm making progression, no matter how little those steps are, And you can apply that, and I'm learning lately, I'm applying it to the private sector. I'm applying it to my own business and my own podcast, and just grinding a little bit each day. And before you know it, like, dude, I look back, I'm on episode like 35 now.
Yeah.
And it's just staying consistent, and whatever it is that you want to do, if you're a fucking plumber, you're a doctor, you're a soldier, dude, hone your craft, stay consistent at it, and be good at what you do, and things will fall into place, man. So. Amen,
brother. Well, Greg Anderson, Endless Endeavor Podcast, gonna have all your stuff down in the show notes for everybody to check out. It's fire, man. And every week, like you think and then you pull a wild card, and it's just like it's your whole concept of like we can all be here talking, we can all be expressing things, we can all be moving forward in our own way. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Be, so exclusive. Dude, love your stuff, love your mission.
Thanks, man. I appreciate all the help. The truth is, if it wasn't for you and a couple other key players, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So I appreciate it, man.
Very welcome, man. Happy to contribute. All right, brother. Cool.